Hi guys, this is James Tabor, and today I'm going to be talking to you about OpenDOAR, which is a directory of open access repositories. Repositories here meaning not quite databases, but still holding information concerning articles, printed journals, etc., but open access meaning that anyone can take a look at them even if they can't necessarily download them locally. So the first thing about OpenDOAR is in this first line right here, and it's very important. OpenDOAR does not use automated analysis. Instead, human beings actually consider every single entrant into OpenDOAR. It's a bigger deal than you might think, but it also slows stuff down. If you'll take a notice of the copyright date down here, it only goes to 2014, indicating that it has not been updated in over a year. Well, almost a year, but we're closing in. Specifically, if you look at 23 April 2014, that seems to indicate over a year. But that might just be the last time that that the homepage was updated. But there are no stats for when the most recent database or repository was placed in there, because these are not databases, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now, just looking at the repository list, you can see that there is a lot of stuff here. If you'll notice, up top is a way to look at each list by continent. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second there. That's how many databases have been submitted to OpenDOAR. It's kind of a big deal. OpenDOAR will let you search for repositories with a very familiar looking search box. Keywords go up here. Subject area, content type, repository type, these are all ways that you can narrow down your search. Yeah, I know keywords is not actually a thing. You can even do it by language and software, language being very important because you will run into other languages while you're getting results. For example, this guy right here, the description is in English, but I guarantee you that a lot of it's going to be in German. And if you don't know German, that could be a problem. You can the software is pretty useful if you know exactly what you're looking for how certain repositories run. For most people, it's not going to be that useful. You can sort the results by name, and you can limit how much information you're seeing on each page of results, which, again, big deal. Now, that's if you want to search the actual repositories. OpenDOAR also lets you search repository contents, but when it does this, it's a Google custom search. So if you recall the video for how to use a Google search bar as an advanced search, it can use Boolean operators and it can use all those additional modifiers used by Google. This works with all of them. Even the link, which you would think might not be useful, but it actually works here in OpenDOAR. Which, again, kind of shocking. I didn't expect it to, but there it is. So, again, it searches like any other database out there. If you've ever used Gale or EBSCO, this is going to seem very familiar. But it's not quite the same thing as what Kate the librarian was discussing when she was teaching us how to use Boolean searches. Because, like I mentioned, repositories aren't databases. Repositories are instead... I haven't found a really good definition of repository, but think of it like a database light. You can still get access to the same stuff that you would in a database, but it's not as in-depth. If you actually go to the About section of OpenDOAR, they'll talk about the criteria for inclusion and exclusion in OpenDOAR. And a couple things to take note of is that it specifically excludes sites that are e-journals, sites that require a login, and sites that are proprietary databases or journals that normally require a subscription. So this is not meant to take the place of a subscription-based database. This will not return results from Gale or EBSCO, and if Gale and EBSCO own the rights to what they're hosting, none of what none of what would show up in their databases is going to show up here. And that's severely limited because Gale and EBSCO are pretty powerful entities as far as corporations go. This is a little bit more like Google Scholar, but again, it's human run instead of using automated processes. So that changes the quality, as well as, human beings are a lot less likely to violate copyright laws than, say, spiders. So how useful is this for a school librarian? I would say it's very useful, not particularly at anything lower than a high school library, because you really want to, when kids are first learning how to search, you want to have them learn in a controlled environment where you have a better idea of what results they're going to get back. And with OpenDOAR, again, I'll show you this list. All of these, like this is just Africa. You have no control over what kind of results they're going to get back, what language it's going to be in, how relevant it's going to be to what they're searching. And there are no easy categories for just listing. It has to be listed by continent because that's just how broad their reach is. Specific tools are good for early teaching. Now, once you're in high school, particularly like junior or senior, and you're trying to show kids how useful it is to look at search results in a post-secondary environment, OpenDOAR is a fantastic way to do that. And I know teachers would be thrilled if students were coming to them with evidence or resources from Cyprus or Croatia, especially if they're say they're doing a project on Europe. But again, this language barrier is going to be an issue because they're cataloged in English, but they're not translated. So you'd be counting on translation software or an innate knowledge of the language in the student. So useful, yes, it's very useful. Recommended, it really depends on what library program you're looking at. And like I said, Google Scholar is a perfectly valid way to move forward with teaching kids how to do this sort of research. So yeah, that's pretty much OpenDOAR in a nutshell. And I hope everyone learned a little something. The URL is just opendoar.org. No big deal there. And you can also find a little bit more about the Sherpa services, such as Romeo and Juliet, if you click on this link to go to the Center for Research Communications. And again, it's actively funded, so it's not like it's going anywhere anytime soon, though again, it seems like it's been a while since it last received an update. But if you saw that list, it could be because they've already cataloged freaking everything in the world. So, in short, OpenDOAR good. Absolutely use it if it's something that would appeal to you, but beware of that broad range because it will return information that you can't understand. Hope everyone enjoyed it, and I'll see you again shortly for my next presentation.